Shepard. I'm President and CEO of Fiduciary Trust, and this is the third in our segment on dealing with the financial implications of Alzheimer's. I'm joined here with Jody King, Vice President and Director of Client Services at Fiduciary Trust, and also Dr. Lisa Genova, a Harvard-trained neuroscientist and the author of the best-selling book, Still Alice. In our earlier sessions, we dealt with the 4 steps of dealing with this. 1, recognition. 2, developing a care plan. 3, organizing information. And 4, doing a review of legal documents and fiduciary obligations. And as a result, I think what we want to talk about here is the second 2, around the organizing information and also the aspect of doing a full review. Jody, could you take us through those 2 steps?
Absolutely, Austin. So it's really important to start right off, as soon as you've recognized the condition and developed a care plan, to gather and organize the financial information of the individual while they can still help you find things. Lots of times I find that we end up stepping in because we know more about the financial life of the individual than maybe anyone else. We're able to help with those steps. But it's important to determine what the income of the person is, what the income sources are, where the assets are, what institutions they're located in, where the real estate is, all those different pieces, any liabilities they may have. It's also important to recognize if there's any insurance policies and make sure they're continuing to get paid and know where they are. And also make sure we know who the key contacts are. And then once you gather all that information, you can put together a financial plan and to make sure that the care plan that you developed in the previous step is actually financially feasible, or adjust the plan as may be appropriate if anything does need to change.
Jody, is that an ongoing process, or my guess is it's not just a one-time experience?
Oh, it is an ongoing process, because I think, as Lisa has pointed out, the care plan will evolve over time, and the asset picture will evolve over time also. So as things change, it's important to be revisiting that. But again, having that basic foundation of what exactly is there is very important from the start. So once you've gathered all that information, then it's time to also review any legal documents that may be in place. If legal documents aren't in place, obviously they should be put in place. If they are in place, they should be reviewed to make sure that they're appropriate given the circumstances, and also that the correct parties are named as fiduciaries, as trustees, as healthcare proxies, that type of thing. So the key documents you need to really review is you need to make sure there's a healthcare proxy in place. They'll be able to person will be able to make decisions for the person when they're no longer able to do so. You need to make sure the healthcare proxy includes a HIPAA authorization so that the doctor can talk openly about the condition with the parties. You need to make sure that there's a durable power of attorney in place that can help the person make financial decisions as time goes on. You also need to make sure that there's a will in place that names what should happen with the person's assets when they do pass. And in many cases, there needs to be a revocable trust put in place to hold the assets. Maybe there's a special needs trust that would be put in place, or some other form of irrevocable trust that could be important. Again, with all of those documents, it's important to review who the named fiduciaries are and make sure the right people are in the right roles, because this disease can last for a long time, 2 to 20 years, as Lisa said. And when you look at that picture, you need to make sure you have people in place that will be there to help the person along the way. And a lot of people forget to kind of the final step of looking at their IRA accounts and their 401ks and their insurance policies, and making sure that the proper beneficiary designations are named also, because all that needs to be updated while the person's still able to do so.
It seems like a lot of moving pieces. And my guess is it's fairly complex, and at the same time you're dealing with the emotional and personal aspect of this. And maybe Lisa, you could talk a little bit about families or your own observations about how families deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, every family is different, and I've found that most people go through the stages of grief, not only the person diagnosed, but everyone around that person. So you go through, and not necessarily in a very linear, neat order, denial, anger, bargaining, despair, acceptance. And so you get a whole family in a room to talk about mom's Alzheimer's, and you've got dad who's still in denial, and a brother's in anger, and a sister's in bargaining, and it's hard to have a coherent conversation. But what I've found is there's a lot to do that shouldn't all be shouldered by one person. And so, it's interesting, like different family members can take on different roles in this process. So, maybe the oldest daughter becomes the caregiver for a period of time, but the brother is really good at thinking about the will or durable power of attorney. Like different people in the family can wear different hats, and it's useful to get everyone in a room, even in all of those different sort of stages of grief, and sort of get people to sort of raise their hand, like, what role do you want to play in this? And it really does take a team.
I take away from it two things, and then we'll go into our fourth segment. One is communication and planning. I think both of you would agree are sort of the capstone here around this phase of stage of dealing with it. We'll come back in our fourth session and conclude our conversation around the financial planning of Alzheimer's. Thank you.